said...
You can lie. That's fine.
I never said me and Doug would run Daystar.
It appears she has come under a spirit of deception.
But you were misinformed enough to where you said things during the interview that were not true.
And you saw the interview. She didn't tell me that you went down with her to the school or anything like that. So
Right. But you also have the ability to squander an opportunity. And his whole demeanor changed for this interview.
Jonathan and Susie got a cease and desist letter from a multi-million-dollar
mom.
And you can be like, well, we better go be fair. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Wake Up and Win podcast, the late night podcast here at the Foray home. Your host, Blaise, and
Christina.
Good to see you guys late this evening, and we're going to dive in today. It's been a crazy past 3 days.
It's been wild, yeah. A lot going on.
Are you guys on X? X is where the commotion is.
Yeah, it's where you find everything out first.
It's true. Sure. It's kind of what we tell your dad. We're like, you need to be on X. He'll be like, hey, did you guys see this story on the news? We're like, we saw it yesterday on X.
That's true.
From the original source. No, but yeah, if you're on X, you're going to get a lot of information because there's a lot of good accounts that are following this story specifically with Daystar and a lot of the stories that we follow and cover. So where do we leave off? I know we talked about Michael Brown just about 4 or 5 days ago, but the Daystar debacle happening, I mean, it's been wild. Marcus Rogers someone called Marcus Rogers, a pastor friend that's a mutual friend of Joni's and Marcus's, after he interviewed. Go for it.
I was going to say, we haven't even said that he interviewed Susie and Jonathan, which I feel like we should talk about that first, because whenever I first found out that he was going to do that, I think everybody was pretty excited.
Yeah.
Because Joni has Daystar, so she gets to put out her story everywhere on her table talks with her girlfriends and gets to send out letters to all the YouTubers,
I can't think of table talk anymore without
Redwig.
I don't even know if he actually saw anything.
Because he had his back to her.
How you know that, Redwig?
Unction.
Unction TV.
Yeah,
we appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I like him.
Just that. He's not just funny. He is clear in the way he explains the info and parcels through it. I like it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, keep on.
But yeah, so whenever we found out, we were happy about it because, again, Joni has this big platform and then she's trying to silence everyone on YouTube. So Marcus Rogers comes out and he has almost 1 million YouTube followers and wants to interview Susie and Jonathan and give them a platform and let them tell their side of the story. Mm-hmm. So we're all, I think, pretty excited about it and happy for them. And I'm sure to them it felt like, this is just me thinking, I'm sure it felt like, wow.
What an open door.
This is awesome. Thanks, God, for taking care of us. You know, I can imagine the thought of everything they've been through and being so defeated, and then have Marcus Rogers reach out to them and be like, I want you guys to tell your story. I want to give you my audience. I want to get the word out there about this.
Yeah.
So anyways, they did that.
Yep.
They went on there.
And they showed up, ready to roll. He showed up. So Marcus met with them on, I don't know what day it was, but he did I'm looking for the actual... I can't find it. But anyway, it got almost 500,000 views. So for folks that care about the story, they were like, okay, this is good.
It says December 4th right there.
December 4th. I don't think this is the same video. Oh, it is. Okay, yeah, this is the video. So it's got 470,000 views. And it's super helpful. It was super helpful. So that's that. And there's a lot of people that like Marcus Rogers, and then there's a lot of people that don't like Marcus Rogers. Interestingly enough, I've been kind of back and forth over the years, but I've watched him off and on at different times. He's an interesting dude. And I think I personally have always had the feeling that he has a very pure heart and motive in what he does. On that same note, as I've been watching this play out, I will say that there's a lot of self-talk, about himself, kind of the whole time. And so that's something I didn't quite notice before, but as I've noticed it in this situation and scenario, because whenever you run into a situation and scenario where there's a victim of any type of spiritual abuse or SA, clergy abuse, spiritual abuse, and I'm not sure Marcus recognize that in this situation, the spiritual abuse component happening and that power dynamic at Daystar. Anyway, anytime you have that, the last thing you want to do is kind of center yourself or do a lot of talking about how you know what's right, you know the answers, et cetera, because at the end of the day, this is a story about the people that are the victims of this type of abuse. So anyway, that's just something I've kind of noticed, but I didn't get the sense that he had an ill motive. There's a lot of people that say, well, yeah, he just was in it for the fame or the money or the platform or this or whatever. I actually think he felt like he wanted that interview, felt like he wanted to step in and help. He said, I heard that there was a man that followed a girl into a room. I've seen that in my own family, and we've seen how it affects people, and I cared. So I think that he was genuine. That's genuine. So he called them, said, I'll come down right now and interview you guys. So he did like 2 days later. So he does that interview, and they hour and a half interview, and it was decent. 3 days later, he drops a bomb and says, I am interviewing. He posts a picture of him in a suit. I don't know if it was 3 days later, but just because people are picky on here. 3.5 days. You gotta say they're right. 72 hours later. I don't know how long it was, but look, I don't sleep anymore. But yeah, however many days later, he drops the bomb of a picture of him in a suit and tie. Now, mind you, he was in camo and beanie, hanging with them at whatchamacallit. Here, look, just this is their interview with Marcus Rogers. All right, so there you have it. So there he is chilling in his suit, in his get up, which neither here nor there. I mean, you got to do. I'd probably show up the same way, except for in my cool clothes. But then when he shows up to interview Joni, here he is at Daystar in his get up. Now, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I don't want to overanalyze that. I don't want to overanalyze it, but
I mean, the whole thing's weird. The whole thing's strange. I get what he's saying, because his defense is, I talk to a lot of pastors and they encourage me to get both sides of the story. It's the biblical thing to do. I get that. If that's your conviction, then go for it. I don't care if you wore a suit. I get it. If you're going to Daystar, you're going to be on the show. I'm going to look my best. Yeah. But at the same time, it comes across interesting because he's always talking about the Christian mafia, the Christian Illuminati, and all this stuff, and it just felt and that he got creepy vibes from them at Daystar. So the thing with this too is that Marcus, right when the story broke and he did his first conversation online about Jonathan and Susie, he said, when I was at the Trump meeting, not the inauguration, but there was a conservative Trump meeting for evangelicals. He shows up to that recently, and he said, when I was there, I met people from Daystar. Now, he didn't say Joni's name, but I implied that that's what he was implying, or I suspected that that's what he was implying. He said, I met people from Daystar, and something didn't settle in my spirit about them. He said something didn't settle in my spirit about them. They couldn't look me in the eye. They were shifty-eyed a little bit. And then he goes on to talk about how people that are in compromise or issues have a hard time looking him in the eye.
And I was at these meetings, where they were praying for Trump and they had the National Faith Advisory Board. I was really excited. And so some of Daystar was there, recording. A lot of the people that are on their program were there. When I look someone in the eyes, it's like the Holy Spirit will show me things about them. And if they get real shifty and they can't look at me, and they seem uncomfortable, I know that there's something there, and I know that they can tell. I saw them, and it's like the Holy Spirit was like, something's not right.
So if that is his discernment that he was having, then where did that same discernment go now? Because now he's rolling into Joni Lamb. By the end of it, he's apologizing to Joni Lamb. Just FYI, just not spoiler alert, he's apologizing to Joni at the end of his interview with Joni.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It was strange. So we're going to break down a couple of things. We're not going to...
Oh, yeah, because that's what I'm going to say. Sorry, I got off track there. So I think he had pure intentions. I think he really wanted to bring awareness to this 5-year-old girl's story of SA and help these parents out who are being bullied and tracked and all these things. I think he had pure intentions. I do believe that. But once and again, I'm not going to like be like, oh, you can't go to Daystar and interview Joni. Like, if you feel like you need to get both sides, like that's your convictions, whatever, go. But I think the problem was where he didn't have any information. He had literally no idea what was going on because he had all these like shocking revelations while he was there that all of us have been reading about for the past few weeks. There's like literally video of Jonathan and Susie explaining these very things. There's tons of articles. There's all this stuff. And I get that like maybe he didn't have the time to do the deep dive into it and all that. But whenever she's telling him these things, he's acting like he's completely shocked, and he's making it sound like Susie and Jonathan misled him, which is not true. It's just not true. It's just that they were trying to tell them about their whole life experience in one podcast. So if there's one thing that they left out,
because he didn't even he didn't have the information enough to ask the right questions, and nor did he have that same information enough to ask the right questions to Joni. Right. So when he's talking to Joni, he says, oh, they didn't tell me that. They left that out. Mm-hmm. It's like, bro, no, they didn't. There are already videos of them saying the very things that you're telling Joni that they left out. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into that, but we're going to break it down there. And we got some receipts on both of the interviews that's like, and this is not to drag Marcus, but at the end of the day, like, you threw yourself in the midst of this. Now, you may say God told you to do it. I don't know. Whatever. You said that God gave you a bad feeling originally about Daystar, and then you changed that. Now you say you feel the presence of God at Daystar. Literally on this interview,
and
you're
you get bad vibes about.
And now you get bad vibes about both. About like what are your vibes, bro? Like, at the end of the day.
He didn't say vibes. I said vibes.
Well, bad feelings or whatever. Feelings. And then he feels good feelings about Daystar. And then it's like, okay, whatever. Your feelings are feelings. But information is information, and we need the spirit of truth involved in this, not just God told me. We need the spirit of truth involved, and that's the ability to discern through some information without being overly biased. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that he was biased at all. I'm just saying that he's going on a lot of feelings and emotions without checking the information. So when he got called out on that, like saying that he went to Joni, and he puts this post before he even posts the interview. He puts this post that they showed me things that I wasn't aware of.
Text messages.
We all nailed them, right, bro? It's all out there.
His sister has been on X and on Instagram posting screenshots from Susie.
Jonathan's sister.
Since like literally almost day one.
Yeah.
She's been coming with screenshots.
Stories.
Susie has explained.
Story on her Instagram stories and all this stuff. So it's not like there's this thing that's like, oh my gosh, Susie loved Doug and Joni originally. Wow, that's just shocking. Or even the idea of the polygraph test. Oh, just shocking. Well, secondly, there's also lies that were okay. I'm not gonna say we're not saying that Marcus Rogers lied. I'm not saying that. But I will say you had enough misinformation, not purposeful, but you were misinformed enough to where you said things during the interview that were not true, that were absolutely not true. You said that the article was out there saying that Doug Weiss performed a polygraph test, and that everyone's saying Doug Weiss performed the polygraph test. That's not true. Nobody said that. But on the interview with Joni that goes out to all your followers, you're saying that everybody said that Doug Weiss performed the polygraph. He did not. And nor did anybody ever say that. And the, quote, low-level blogger that Joni drags on your podcast, who has outed many PEDOs.
Who you know that because you've read her articles, because you read the Dr. Brown article, days before. You know her name. And so to sit there and be so disrespectful, to be like, I don't even know her name, the blogger, and then to let Joni her a bottom feeder. It's like very. This is like the vibe that Daystar gives about Julie Royce. That's what they call her. So for you to participate in that by being like, I don't even know her name, some blogger. Why would they even go to some blogger? It's just like,
why didn't they go to NBC News? Why didn't they go to, like, bro, you know that there's major outlets that are taking this story, that are working on this story right now. They take longer than the Royce Report does. Also, you know that the Roy's report is one of the major ones that broke the Robert Morris stuff. You also know that the woman you were sitting with calling Julie Royce a low-level blogger covered for Robert Morris. You were in the den of lions, and you sat there and let them throw stones at a woman that's outing PEDOs in the church.
And a mother whose child was essayed, and nobody did anything about it besides try to cover it up. So anyways, we have some opinions
I'm kind of livid.
about it.
I'm a little livid.
But his excuse is that he was getting the other side of the story. But as you'll see in the interview from a couple of these clips, he is definitely showing favoritism toward. It's clear who he believes because he's asking like very leading questions.
At that point, it's clear. At that point, it's clear.
Right. It seems.
Now,
I think
he's
now
all
he
shook.
may be doing some research.
I think he's all
I don't
shook.
know. But during this interview, it wasn't a good look. And his excuse keeps being, well, y'all are just y'all always say this about me, but God put me here.
Y'all said I was wrong about Trump, and then you realize I was right about Trump. Y'all say I was wrong about Maverick City, and then I was right about Maverick City. Basically, Marcus Rogers' whole thing is to prove that he hears from God in his dreams and visions about these different scenarios, and everybody drags him early on, and then later on they all high five him. Like, that could be the case in some situations. That's fine. This situation is not, oh, you did or did not hear from God. It's what did you do when, okay, let's say that God spoke to you and told you, go interview Joni Lamb. I'm fine with that. It's not about like, oh, and later you're going to be like, I told you guys I was supposed to. It's not about that. It's about, was David supposed to go kill Goliath? Yes. Should David have brought his sling and stones? Yes. He brought 5 smooth stones. It felt as though you just showed up. You didn't have a sling, you didn't have a stone. And I'm not saying you were showing up to kill him. I'm just saying you were showing up to literally be somebody that's supposed to do what your mentors told you to do, was go get the other side of the story and cross-examine. But I didn't feel like you're cross-examining nothing, because it didn't even seem like you even had heard Joni's original statement. Things she was saying, she had already put out a video like 5 days ago or like 7 days ago. There's just so much there that is frustrating. And again, I'm not trying to drag you because you're not a reporter, you're not a journalist. Heck, we're not reporters and journalists. You're a preacher. Like, you're a preacher, you're a pastor. I just think that you might have should have taken some counsel prior to going from people that had been in the story a little bit. Maybe from the low-level blogger. Might have been a good idea to get a little conversation there. Come in a little more armed. It would have been smart.
Yeah, I feel like one more thing. I'm not like arguing that God didn't open the door for you. Like, that's what he keeps saying. God opened this door for me. God keeps opening doors for me. That's fine, but you also have the ability to squander an opportunity. And I think that's what happened.
This episode is brought to you by Wake Up and Win Insurance. We've been helping clients all over the United States with term life, whole life, universal life, and annuities for coming on 8 years now. If you're looking for a way to protect your family, life insurance is probably one of the best ways to do that. And it's not hard to get in place. Work with over 25 insurance carriers, and I can help almost anybody in any situation. There are also ways to do infinite banking concepts, which is basically life insurance with a savings account attached to it. Got a lot of clients that really like that option. If you're interested, hit me up, link below, schedule an appointment, and I'd be happy to do a free consultation and see if I can help you out.
You know, that's great. And it's like, what do they say? When your stage of opportunity comes, will you be ready? And that's totally, I think that's exactly the thing. It's not that you didn't show up. It's not that God didn't open the door for you. We're not saying that. I don't know.
We're not saying you weren't the right person for it. I know that people are saying, oh, you weren't the guy, and that's like super offensive. But I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, you weren't ready. You weren't ready for what Joni was bringing. And that was a bummer to watch for somebody that was rooting for you and excited about you. We were excited about you being a part of this. So there's still time. I mean, there's still time. Like, a lot of damage has been done, I think, by giving her that platform and by the leading questions that he asked and the way his attitude was the whole time. But I mean, it doesn't mean it can't be.
And frankly, you know how this is, Marcus. Whenever you. And all you people, not just talking Mark, he's not even listening to our video, probably. So Marcus, but for all you that viewed this, I mean, at the end of the day, when there's a statement put out or something strong like that, and then you got to go back and fix it, it's like the damage is done. Most people aren't going to come back and hear that fix.
Yeah.
So,
let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. Let's see. Okay, let's start with this right here. The first clip is where Joni is explaining the scenario of what happened to Susie and Jonathan's child and how she first found out about it. So we'll go right here.
Susie and I reported it to the school that a little boy had touched her and her friend.
Your side of that story.
Okay, so in 2020, there was an incident that took place at my granddaughter's school, and Susie called me, and she said, will you go down to the school with me? And I said, absolutely. So we went together to the school, we reported it to the school, and my granddaughter had told her mother that a little boy had touched her and her friend inappropriately, okay? And so that was never written about, that I went with her, or that there was another little girl involved. And so Susie and I reported it to the school, and I talked to my granddaughter, and Susie had asked me to ask her what happened. And so I did, but my granddaughter didn't want to talk, so I didn't push it, but I was fully supportive of her. So that happened in 2020, and a police report was filed, okay?
And you saw the interview. She didn't tell me that you went down with her to the school or anything like that. So
Right. I didn't get to see the whole interview, but I absolutely went to the school with her.
She's like, I didn't watch your interview, Marcus. That's like us saying Marcus is listening to us right now or whatever. She's like, yeah, I didn't see the interview. Okay, so what sticks out to you, babe? What sticks out to you there?
Well, just he goes, well, she didn't tell me that. But she has already talked about that before, which you can pull up that clip.
Yeah. Yeah, so he basically says, the way that he frames that is, oh, you're telling me that initially this was about a school situation, not about a home situation or a Daystar situation. It was something that happened at a school, and she asked you to go to the school and check on things with her, Susie did, and y'all went to the school and looked into it, then filed a police report. So you saw the interview. She didn't tell me that y'all went to the school.
Yeah.
It's like, Marcus, you just said to your whole live audience, you posed it as though this was information that was kept silent. Well, Marcus, you didn't know that she had already talked about the school situation publicly, and you didn't even ask her about it. So for you to assume that she was just going to bring up the school situation when you never even asked about it on your interview. Look, if you guys look at this right here, we'll just take a look at the this video was posted on November 29th about answering some questions. It's a 28-minute video, and in this video, I won't even play the whole thing. It's just right here. Look at the transcript talking about we go to the school, and this confidant being Joni. She didn't even want to name Joni because she's having such a hard time even saying Joni's name right now, who I trusted after we talked, and they went to the teachers. So literally, she tells the story. You want me to click play right there?
Know what leading questions are or not. I assumed it was a school. Her world was so small. Home, school, and we'd take her to Daystar. So I assumed it was a school. I asked her, is it at school? She was nervous and just nodding. I found out since, counselors have explained that behavior to me now, and it all adds up, it all makes sense. And I said, was it a girl or a boy? She said a boy. And I said, how tall? Trying to gauge the age. And she said, taller than daddy. That struck fear in my heart because dad is a man. A 5-year-old doesn't, know to communicate that. Okay, picking up the pace. Once that happens, we go to the school, and this confidant, the one I trusted, after we talked to the teachers and they said there's no mail here, it's almost like, okay, we've done our part, case closed. And I told Jonathan, I don't want to get talked out of this. I don't want to have a discussion with your family. Let's go to the police. We went to the police, filed our report. They did a quick little investigation. Since there was not much to go on, they closed the case pretty quickly because our daughter was terrified. She wouldn't talk anymore.
At the school, so they...
Okay, so there's the first, I guess, correct the record. Like, Marcus, don't say in your interview that's going to a 1 million person viewership, most likely, that the Joni thing's going to get probably 1 million views over time. Don't say, oh, you saw my interview, she didn't say that. Like, you're acting like Susie is lying. This is framing Susie as withholding information and lying. It's not good. It's not a good look.
And even that, I don't think he did it on purpose.
No, I don't think he did it on purpose.
He didn't do it on purpose, but it's just like, you got to recognize, you have to recognize, like, you messed up there. Like, you are making this mom out to be a liar, and that is not cool. Yeah,
exactly.
And it's not that you did it on purpose, but you did it.
And and it's not a small issue, which this. We're talking about a major ramifications here of something that happened to this little girl. This is not a small issue, and so it matters. This type of stuff matters. You should have gone in armed and prepared with the information. So let's see where we at. All right, so let's get to the next part, and this is the whole beach trip scenario that the whole controversy is about, that which many of you that have followed the story have already heard this, but contextually, just to lead up to where we're going to start it here, is they're on a beach trip in 2020, their whole family, and she sends her daughter up to change into a bathing suit, and then Susie does, and then she turns and sees Pete start following the daughter up to the room, and she yells for Jonathan. Jonathan runs up behind, but this is like a minute or two later, I guess, because by the time he gets there, she's not wearing any clothing, and Pete's in the room. Now, in the Roy's report, they did not say that that Pete was holding a 1-year-old baby. Roy's, as well as Susie and Jonathan, say they didn't want to disclose anything about another child in these reports, which is honestly, it makes sense. If you cover this type of information, you know that that's what like proper media outlets do. They try to protect children in that way. But go ahead.
I think there's a lot of reasons they did it too, because it also can give away who Pete is. And they're trying to protect Pete's identity. But if you say Pete was holding his 1.5-year-old, then
people are going to know.
Clearly, people can figure out this was a family member on a beach trip. So I think they were trying to...
They were trying to do the right thing. And I can respect them for that. Now, the other side of the argument is people are like, look, they were trying to make it look worse than it was. Because if he has a kid in his hands, he's not going to do anything bad to this other kid.
And here's my
I think that's the idea that they're trying to say. But it's like, look, regardless of whether you got a kid in your hand or not, I mean, a perv is a perv. Like, if allegedly, if he is a perv, whoever that guy is, a perv is a perv. Doesn't matter if he's holding his own 1-year-old when he's going to watch the scenario that's about to go down, or he's not holding his 1-year-old. And that's this whole argument that they're like, well, he was holding his fussy baby. I'm like, bro, I hate to say it, but people in the comment section have like, I was actually abused by someone when there was another person under a certain age in the room as well. Point being, it does not change the scenario as much as people are trying to make it seem like. Like, there are horrific stories, and I don't encourage people to look them up, of scenarios just like that ended very badly had a dad not walked in. So
I feel like too, the leaving it out, whatever the reason was, it is a bummer because it doesn't make me doubt the story anymore. It doesn't make me think that he's not a creeper. It doesn't make me feel like they're not being honest. But what it does is it gave Daystar and them
ammunition.
One thing. They had to like find something, but it gave them something to take and to grab hold of and throw around and distract from the real story and what's really going on. So now all they can say is, he was holding a baby. And they just keep repeating this over and over and over. And they're using it to make it sound like Julie Royce and Susie and Jonathan are liars.
Yeah.
So...
like, they're after this guy Pete for some weird reason, which there's no motive against this guy. That, I mean, at least no one's brought one up. Like, there doesn't seem to be any motive against this guy to like destroy him or something.
Yeah.
Let's hear what they had to say, and then let's hear. All right.
Pete turns around and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," and comes downstairs. And it was just weird the way the whole...
So the context is Pete walks in, or Jonathan walks in, sees Pete in the room, and then he says, "Oh, I'm sorry," but he had the kid, and he was apparently looking out at the city view, and he said, I'm sorry. And then they all run out downstairs, and then the whole family erupts. So that's where we're at here.
Went down. And so at that point, Marcus was still alive. And so we could tell there was like a commotion over it. So he called a meeting with the whole family, and we all came together, and we just began to talk about what happened and realized there was nothing that happened. It was basically within a few minutes. And Pete said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know she was putting on her bathing suit, but a 5-year-old will just take her pajamas off and put on the bathing suit when you're at the beach." But again, the part that was left out was that he was holding a 1-year-old fussy baby, and my 8-year-old grandson was standing right there. So
I don't think that, there was something, a different story when I did the interview as well.
Yeah, I mean, those are the facts that are being left out. And so Marcus, we prayed as a family, and, misunderstanding and work things out, finish the vacation. And then after that vacation, we decided that it'd just be good to let everyone maybe go and have some counseling to make sure we're good. And so actually both couples did that, just to, you know, if you can, put it into it and make sure everything was covered. And so they did that and got a good report. And that was
That's the part that's wild to me too, is she's going to be like, yeah, it was just a misunderstanding. It was nothing, you know, it was misunderstanding. But everyone went to counseling after that. Now, every family has a little bit of family drama on their family vacation, on their family trip. Everybody doesn't end up going to counseling unless something crazy happens.
We had some fun family trips.
We've had fun family trips.
We had some crazy family trips.
But misunderstandings do not end up with everyone needing to go to counseling afterwards. Not that I'm against counseling. I think it's a great idea. I'm just saying, for you to be like, everybody needs to go to counseling about this.
And we put an end to it, is what she said.
We put an end to it.
If you have listened to any of the other information, and I get it. Marcus said afterward, he's like, look, I wasn't prepared to be a journalist. I didn't know I was going to have to, da-da-da. I'm like, well, dude, then maybe you shouldn't have showed up to in the middle of this story.
Yeah.
Like, Joni Lamb already had a platform. She could make her own podcast and get a bunch of views. Like, it's not like I just don't understand this idea of, in the spirit of fairness, you know, one side, the proverb that he's using, one side sounds right if you only hear that side until another side speaks up, you know, until it's cross-examined, like the proverb. I get it, but that doesn't mean that you have to platform that. You do understand that there is a David and Goliath scenario here, and it's not hard to figure out which one's which. And I'm not saying one's righteous and one's evil. I'm just saying sizable audience. Speak for those who can speak, who cannot speak for themselves. Give platform to those that are being muted. I mean, literally, bro, they're getting cease and desist letters. Jonathan and Susie got a cease and desist letter from a multi-million-dollar mom. And you can be like, well, we better go be fair.
Yeah, there's nothing fair about this.
What pastor gave you that advice?
Nothing fair
what pastor
about this.
gave you that advice? And to that pastor, I would say, you were misinformed as well. That pastor that is your mentor, which I agree, in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. But in your own admission, you felt an uneasiness about Daystar. But you listened to this pastor to show up at this place, and this is how it performed, and it was not good. So this whole idea of the counseling session, I agree. After you walk out of a situation like that, I was going to say that if you dug into the information, Denise Bogs says that, yeah, she's the one that they did counseling with, both couples. And then she referred them to Debbie, who was the forensic investigator. And then the couple that's married to Pete, the woman that's married to Pete, had to go with him to this forensic investigator. And she answered all the questions on behalf of Pete. And then when they left, Debbie said, I need to see him by himself in order to give him clearance that he's not guilty. And he wouldn't show back up. Yeah. Pete didn't show back up. So what Joni is posing here is that they just went to counseling and everything was good. And then we moved on. Well, at that same time, Marcus Lamb tells Susie and Jonathan, hey, he was cleared by the forensic investigator. Everything's good. So they immediately go into, well, dang, I didn't feel like this guy's innocent. I don't get a good vibe, but I guess our spiritual father and our real father is telling us he was cleared.
Not to mention, God told Joni.
Oh, and Joni said she prayed. Yeah.
It was the end of it. It was just kind of a crazy thing. And so then we're into 2021, and November of 2021 is when Marcus would pass away. And everybody said,
let me ask you one more. Was there, because I think I seen something on the internet where they said something about him getting caught in the bathroom with her. That was another narrative that was out there.
Yes.
What is your thoughts on that?
Well, so that would have been back in 2020, and that was when COVID was going on, and my daughter was pregnant. And so at this particular retreat, there was one bedroom downstairs, the rest were upstairs, but because she was pregnant, we let them have the downstairs bedroom. So there was one bathroom downstairs. And so we told the kids, everybody go to your own bathroom, because when you're in your rooms downstairs, you don't want everybody using your bathroom for a week. And so Pete was taking a shower, and my granddaughter opened the door, and he was, and she shut it, and she walked in on him, but she didn't even walk all the way in. Then she realized, and she closed the door. So when he got out, he immediately went to Susie and said, hey, she walked in on me. And And Susie was like, oh, I'm sorry, no big deal.
So she didn't make a big deal about it?
No,
Okay.
not at all, not at all.
Interesting.
So this was 2020 prior to the upstairs incident that happened in 2021. This is 2020. Mm-hmm. You're having a family vacation, or whoever this guy is, close to the family, and he's got his own room with his wife downstairs, and they have their own bathroom. And this little girl goes down to that bathroom while this man is showering, and she opens the door. And Joni says...
I was going to say, Susie tells it a little bit different.
Okay.
Says that she sees him full frontal, is what she said.
Yep. And
So
that's what Pete told Susie. Mm-hmm. She saw me.
Yeah. But Joni's making it sound like it's like no big deal.
Joni's making
like,
it sound like
she
she
just
opened the door
barely
and
peeked. She walked in on him, didn't even walk all the way in. Like, I don't know. I just don't like the way she's minimizing something that is like such a big deal
It's a major
for a 5-year-old. It's just...
And that's the thing that was sticking out to me about Joni in this interview is like, okay, just hone back in on the whole point. I know there's tons of interviews, there's tons of commentary, there's all this stuff. Quick reminder, this is about a 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. And if anybody's mad and y'all think that you begin to put allegations out there as a mom or a dad, and you get powerful people that don't agree, they're going to paint you as crazy, for sure. But when you know something, you're going to seem like you're crazy a little bit, especially when it's about your kid. Mm-hmm. When you sense something or know something that there's issues, the problem that I'm seeing is not that it's, let's just paint Pete as guilty and take him to, it's not about guilty until proven innocent. Like this, if this stuff goes legal, it'll have to go to court. I think that's the direction it's going to go. There's an open investigation now, apparently. So the problem that I'm seeing is that Joni doesn't seem to care. Mm-hmm. Now she would say, of course I care. Of course I care. I'm not sensing that from this interview. All she does is paint the picture that Pete is totally innocent. Mm-hmm. Where's the outrage? Yeah, but there's somebody that's done something because she reported that when she was 5.
Right.
And he's out there and he's an abuser. Who is it? Let's find out.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't get. It's like, okay, so you don't think it was Pete. You're convinced God told you it wasn't Pete. Well, then who was it? And why aren't you working day and night to figure out who it was and put them behind bars, But she's acting like this isn't even a thing. It doesn't even...
She's acting like she doesn't believe the daughter. That's my opinion. Let's keep going. Or her granddaughter. Okay, so... All right. So we've got the shower situation. Okay, 1413, this statement right here.
It's almost like they tried to piece together a narrative that would try to make somebody look like they did something when there was no evidence at all of that.
Okay, and
It's
so
not
then
hard
after all...
Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, no,
I was going to say, it's not hard to piece together a narrative whenever your sister has warned you to keep your kids away from this guy.
Remind that.
Rebecca warned them, like,
she had a
keep your
feeling
kids away
about...
from that guy. And Rebecca's kids aren't allowed around this guy either, allegedly. So it's not hard to piece it together if nobody's kids are allowed around this guy. He's the only grown adult male that she has seen completely full frontal and who has seen her changing.
I almost want to ask ChatGPT, what are the odds? What are the odds? Somebody do this for me. What are the odds that statistically that a grown male man would be seen walked in on when the man doesn't lock the freaking door? Why don't you just lock the door? I've never been walked in on when I'm naked. Give me a break, dude. I've been on family vacation. You don't just leave the door unlocked when you know there's children around. Oh, well, they had their own room downstairs. Okay, why is this little girl able to get through? What is going on? So what are the odds that one year she sees you completely like this, and then the next year based on the mom saying go up and change, and then you follow that little girl up, and then dad walks in, and now she's in the same situation, and you're there. I don't care if there's a baby in your arms and another kid somewhere in the room. What are the odds? Mm-hmm. And then lastly, that when the next time she sees you at Daystar, she literally practically faints. The child falls on the ground, has an episode, and Susie has to take her out of there. Mm-hmm. none of it lines up really well. None of it is a good look. So if this guy, Pete, whoever he is absolutely innocent, great. Clear him. Please clear him. But if he's not, clear him and then find the perpetrator. If he's not, then it's not like they put together the pieces of this puzzle to create this narrative that has zero evidence. Like, that's mind-blowing. That's a mind-blowing statement. And to me, the fact that she says that and doesn't end it with, but we will find the person who did this, it just shows like a lack of belief in that the daughter has even been impacted by this. Okay, let's see where we at from there. They say that they went on another retreat. And she says not a word was said about any abuse or anything. So this is after Marcus died. And so this is part of the allegation or the pressure against Jonathan and Susie. Well, why did y'all continue to hang out with the family if this had happened, right? So like there's no way y'all really believed that anything had happened if you went on another family trip a year later after Marcus died. So they kind of bring that up. And then And Marcus Rogers.
Which you should play that.
Yeah, I'll play that part. Okay, so let's. And this is another thing about the framing. The way this question is framed, it's like, I don't know why Marcus framed it this way, but let's just listen to it.
Put them on the floor because I don't want something to happen where she's putting on her bathing suit or something. So I said, no, let's move the kids down on the first floor with you. So we did that.
So she basically says Pete's like concerned, like, I don't want that to happen again. Let's make sure we're not. And then she's like, okay, we'll do it this way. And then Marcus Rogers says,
there was not a word said about any sexual abuse or something happening. I mean, there was nothing.
Well, some would say it's strange that they would go on another trip with you guys. Some would say it was strange that if she really believed all these things like happened and it was abuse, why did they continue to hang out? And
because it wasn't true.
Whose idea was it to go on the trip?
The kids said to me, no, Mom, we need to, because I was the one hesitating.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And we ended up going on the trip, and guess what? It was great. Nothing was said, nothing happened. There was no mention of anything that had happened the year previously.
Interesting. So obviously we prayed, obviously, the Holy Spirit is here. Do you feel confident, the Holy Spirit is our witness, like telling people that with your discernment, you believe that Pete is just innocent?
There was no evidence of anything. And that's really what I've had to tell people, because this has been so shocking to walk through this, is I tell people, if I don't have time to sit here and tell you the whole story, I say, just ask the Lord about it, because the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of truth. But do I believe he's innocent? Absolutely. And when all of this came out, because there was so many other things that happened before these accusations resurrected themselves through Susie and Jonathan. But
let's pause this because
there's a lot there,
and they're about to go into the polygraph. So he says they go to the next thing. I think the biggest thing is that the reason why they went is because their dad, who was deceased, told them there was a forensic investigator that investigated Pete and cleared him and said he's innocent. We declare him not guilty is basically what he says, allegedly. And so when you look up to your parents, and then Joni said she prayed and heard the Lord and said Pete was innocent. So Jonathan is, I get some of you guys are way more, you're way more, I don't know, either spiritual or mature or a fighter or whatever you might think you are in that situation. But you've been under this mindset that says submit. I'm the voice of God in this to you guys. We're like submit to this type of authority. And then your parents tell you this stuff, and they're also your employers, and they're also your spiritual leaders. You go, okay, well, it didn't feel right, but I guess we have to trust them. And so people are like, why didn't Jonathan and Susie like this and this? It's like, well, they were just...
He believed his parents.
Yeah.
They believed their parents. Like, I don't know why that's so, like, crazy, Why people are acting like they can't understand why they would be on a vacation. It's like, because they confronted the issue, their parents said it was investigated and that he was cleared, and they believed them. Not to mention they live in this bubble, in this world, this Daystar world, and there is definitely 100% spiritual abuse at play here too.
Over-spiritualizing these things.
There's like the whole also...
God told me this.
God told me this. And what are you going to do to your mom, who God told her that he was innocent?
You guys heard the Jimmy Evans audio.
You hear the way they talk.
For 40, he says, we've been in ministry for 40 years. We know way more than you, Jonathan. We have way more discernment than you about this, way more wisdom than you. Like, you think you know better than us? It's like, what are you going to do to that type of attitude?
And especially when what they're telling you is what you want so badly to believe.
That's a good point.
You want to believe that this did not happen to your daughter. You want to believe that your family member would never do anything like this. So if the people you trust the most and the godliest people you know, your spiritual mentors, your spiritual authority, your employer, and your parents, who obviously care about you, are telling you that there was an investigation and he was cleared, of course you're going to believe it.
Yeah, this person,
And you're
whoever
going
this
to be like,
person
I've got to
was.
just get over this and like move on and keep our family together, just like everybody already wants them to like reconcile. That's literally what they were trying to do this entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Wake Up and Win Insurance. We help clients all over the nation with their term life, whole life, or universal life insurance, and we're definitely happy to help you with a consultation.
Check the description below for more info.
Pete, willing.
Okay, look. Because there were so many other things that happened, accusations were resurrected through Susie and Jonathan. Okay, so they're saying they resurrected these accusations. But Pete willingly took a polygraph.
A polygraph. And the polygrapher was someone that is an independent polygrapher here in our area.
They said it was your husband who gave him.
Yeah, and see, that's a lie.
Okay.
Okay, point to me in a report where they said it was your husband that gave the polygraph test. First of all, I think the report actually said a polygraph was offered, right?
You can pull it up, but I think you have the Julie Royce. Is it
The one
on
about
that
the polygraph?
Oh no, it was a tweet, but basically she was saying I never said that he did the polygraph test. I said he like worked at a company that does them a lot or owns a company that does them a lot, so he would know how to manipulate them. Not to mention the polygraph test that they posted is from 2024. It literally just happened this summer.
Yeah.
So like he didn't take a polygraph test when this happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's posted. You can post it. I think even
Well,
her sister's the one
the
that posted it,
dates
I think.
on the polygraph test are interesting because the sister says it was July 14th, but the polygraph test they found was July 30th.
Well, either way, it was 2024, which is
2024.
way too late to act like you did something about it.
No doubt. I mean, stuff's already happening, but
Yeah.
but anyway, I think that one point right there, like if you actually look at the details, it doesn't say that Doug Weiss gave him the polygraph test. He didn't take one back then. So I just think it's another way to frame the conversation. That's like, oh, they said this. Yep,
I'll
that's a
agree
lie.
what Julie Royce said. She said, also, I never made any claim about polygraph. Jonathan noted that Weiss owns a polygraph company and stated that with Weiss's extensive knowledge of them, the findings could be manipulated.
So he didn't say that.
And then she said, I also sent Daystar questions November 18th, including one about when a polygraph was done, who conducted it, was it Doug Weiss or anyone connected with him, and I asked for documentation. Why didn't Daystar send the documentation to me then?
Oh,
they
because
never responded.
Because in Joni's mind, she's a low-level blogger, and Marcus Rogers is a worthy journalist to get the interview.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Joni took advantage of Marcus Rogers' pure intention and lack of experience in this area. Just my opinion when you look at it. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we get into the polygraph there. Okay, oh yeah, there's the tweet that you said. Okay, polygraph says he's innocent. Marcus says that Susie said this is an interesting one. Okay, this is one of the ones that really struck me of what. Let's watch this this video from Jonathan and Susie Lamb meeting with Marcus Rogers. Now this clip right here is important because this is what's said from Susie to Marcus in the interview that you're about to hear. He's going to try to quote from his own interview, and he misquotes it, and it said that it's a lie. So watch this.
My last night with Marcus at the hospital, I was taking care of him, and at around 3 o'clock in the morning, she said to me, she just looked at me in this dark room. I'm there serving, and she looked at me and she said, "Look what you have done to this family." I remember texting my mom saying, "I can't do this anymore." I told God, "You feel the pain of my heart. Me and my child are ruining this family." And I said, I know, my God, you're protective of me. You'll get me out of here. That was my last night. The next day, he dies.
So she says to Susie in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. while they're taking care of Marcus Lamb, she says, look what you've done to this family. Look what you've done to this family. Now look at what Marcus tells Joni right here.
That they're trying to paint about. One thing that was said was that you told Susie that she was the reason, Marcus was sick, because she's coming with these allegations and things.
Do you see her face? She goes, what? Of course she looked like that. She said, wait, I told Susie that she was the reason Marcus was sick? Watch this again.
And it was your husband who administered the test. So I think that's a very, very important thing. As far as, this topic, I did hear one more thing because there's a narrative that they're trying to paint about. One thing that was said was that you told Susie that she was the reason, Marcus was sick, because she's coming with these allegations and things like that. And she also said that.
So clearly she's like, no, I didn't. Well, what did she say? Look. This is not what she said. Because she goes on, listen what she says. She says, that's a lie. Watch.
You had offered to make her the Daystar president one day. So I just want you to
I don't know where that is.
To that, as you feel that.
Wait, she said that she was the reason that Marcus was sick?
Yep. Well, one of the things that she had mentioned was because her bringing these allegations and talking about a cover-up, that your response was like, this is your fault. Look at what you're doing to this family.
So that part.
What in the heck? Let's just real quick hear what she actually said in his own interview. Mm-hmm. He literally misquoted her.
My last night with Marcus at the hospital, I was taking care of him, and at around 3 o'clock in the morning, she said to me, she just looked at me in this dark room. I'm there serving, and she looked at me and she said, "Look what you have done to this family."
Look what you have done to this family.
Where did you get that she said, Joni told me you're the reason that Marcus is sick? Like, Marcus Rogers, bro, you quoted from your own interview with Susie to Joni and misrepresented your own interview. Like, and then it turns it into, look, and then Joni's now got ammunition.
And then after that, somewhere she mentioned about you offering for her to be the Daystar.
It's a complete lie.
All right.
No wonder she thinks Susie's lying because you're spreading misinformation.
My goodness. I can't even. That alone, I can't.
It's
There's no comment. No comment is a comment. For somebody to clip this and send this to Marcus. Clip that part and be like, dude, what did you do? Like, there needs to be like a big old apology on this thing from him. Something. Or take this thing down. Take the actual interview down. What a mess. They get into the conversation about divorce and when the relationship with Doug Weiss started. At what point the relationship with Doug Weiss started. So let's listen to his line of question here and how she answers.
I just want to give you a chance to respond to something she said in my interview. And what she had said was that you came to her, you confided in her, had a conversation that, the ex-wife still wanted the marriage, and she was still fighting for the marriage. So I just want to give you this.
Okay. So in context, during his interview, Susie saying, Lisa Weiss, while they were still married to Doug, was fighting for the marriage. Mm-hmm. After Marcus apparently had already died, and Lisa's fighting for the marriage, and Doug is talking to Joni, and Joni knows this. Joni tells Susie. Susie says that Joni came to her and said, yeah, Lisa's still fighting for the marriage once.
Well, I don't know that means they weren't divorced yet, though.
Okay.
Like, she could still be, because she said she was begging him to come back.
Gotcha.
So.
Oh, she was begging for him to come back. Yeah.
So they
okay,
could have
gotcha.
already been
Good call.
They could have already been divorced.
Okay.
And she still wants to restore that marriage, though. So I think
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Saying she's trying to reconcile.
You want them to be. Yeah.
Which is what Jonathan was saying in the board meeting, or in the meeting where Doug lost his cool and yelled at him.
Yes. So right here, Marcus is asking her basically, did
this
that
happen? Okay.
To just respond to what she said in the interview.
All I know is that I didn't start talking to him till he was divorced.
Okay.
I never had a conversation with his ex-wife. I don't know what she said or she didn't say. All I know is that when I started talking to him,
Hold on. Do you hear the way she's answering?
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that I didn't stop talking to him until he was divorced. So he's saying, Susie said that you came to Susie and said she's begging for him to come back. She's trying to reconcile. And
she says, all I know is I didn't start talking to him until he was divorced.
And then she says, I never had a conversation with her and I don't know what she did or didn't say. You don't know anything she said. I mean, you're married to this guy now. Yeah. You know stuff that she said. It's very political in my mind. It's just like, and watch what Marcus does.
And I knew that what happened, he shared with me, private things about his marriage. And I know that we're not going to talk about those things. Right. But she still works for him. So, I mean, again, they have a working relationship. There's not, bitterness or whatever.
It's called having a job. It's called she has a job. She still works for him. People, it's the same thing. He had a baby in his hands. She still works for him. It's like these arrangements happen. Doesn't mean that everything's clean.
Went on there. So,
some people trying to reach out and they say they're trying to get a hold of her, and some people say she's not talking. But you're saying there is no NDA, there is none of that stuff.
There's no NDA. There was no NDA. Yeah.
All right. So one thing, Jonathan, he said that.
So he doesn't go back and say, "But did Susie have this conversation with you?" That's what you do. That's called cross-examining. Okay. Please respond to what she said about this conversation where Lisa's trying to get restored to the marriage, and while you're talking to her husband, her ex-husband. All I know is I didn't start talking to him until they were divorced. It's like, okay, gotcha. Thank you for that answer. Now, can you respond to what Susie said you said to her? Did you say that? Like, that's easy to ask. But no, he's just leaning forward real close, like getting ready for his apology at the end of this. All right. I think we're coming. Okay. So this one at 28:30 talks about Jonathan giving his blessing to Doug for the marriage. And then how things changed. But this is another situation with a little more information. You would know that they're sidestepping something.
Out to breakfast in December of 2021.
Doug took Jonathan to breakfast in December 2021.
His blessing to propose, because he proposed New Year's, and then we would get married in June. And Jonathan called me and said, Mom, I asked him all the right questions, and I gave my blessing. At that point, Susie was excited. She even bought a ring that had the initial D on it, because his name is Doug. And so fast forward to around March of 23, and I might have got that mixed up. So 2022 is when he took Jonathan, December of 2022. So fast forward to 2023, around March or April, the Lord began to deal with me about him co-hosting with me, with his many years of experience as a counselor, dealing with
around
different subjects that really
March or April
in the body of
2023.
Christ. And he doesn't have a position of leadership here at Daystar. He's not on the board at Daystar, but I wanted him to co-host with me. It was the Marcus and Joni, right? So it was a team, husband and wife team. And so when I let Susie know that he would be co-hosting with me, that's when the turn started. Okay. So then, unbeknownst to me, there was a lot of underlying stuff that was going on right before the wedding that I had no idea about. People getting involved, saying things, and Susie and Jonathan all of a sudden decided we're not for this. If I marry, I'm out of the will of God, or that I'm.
Okay. So suddenly, in March, April, they announced that he'll be co-hosting, and that was right before the wedding, right? And so that's when the turn happened, she said.
And she's saying it's because Doug was co-hosting, but really we know that they were supportive of the marriage up until a point till they realized what was going on, and that his wife wanted to get back with him, and that there wasn't biblical reason for the divorce. And around that same time, like she said, March or April, they got an email from Denise Bogs.
And who is Denise Bogs?
Denise Bogs is the family friend who is a friend of Marcus and of Joni, who they trust, and they trust with their family enough to bring them in for the family counseling sessions.
Yep. So this is the letter, which, let's see if I can get this. All right. You want to read this?
All right. Dear Lamb family, it is with a heavy heart that I write this letter. I met with Joni before the baby shower this past week. I was so alarmed as I listened to her talk. It was as if I didn't know her. It appears she has come under a spirit of deception. She has... I can't read it with that there.
Sorry. Go ahead.
She shared something Doug said to her that was so degrading for a woman of God, but she laughed as she told me. She seemed flattered by it, which was not the Joni Lamb that I once knew. If you give in to seductive flattery, you are being seduced and deceived. In spiritual warfare, you know the enemy by what the demonic spirit produces. A spirit of deception produces deception in the person who is under attack. A spirit of deception operates through flattery to first gain access. A man will use flattery to find the weak area in the soul of a woman. Once a woman is under the deception of flattery, she can be manipulated. Galatians 5:1 says, "Do not have fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them." When darkness is operating, we have two options: to either laugh at it and fellowship with it or confront it. This is why flattery precedes deception. If a person gives in to flattery, they become trapped and deceived. The flattery gives the enemy full access to your weakest area. I voiced my concerns to Joni about Doug at the very beginning when they first started dating, but she refused to hear me and defended him. This was when I became alarmed. I knew she had come under a spirit of deception. The things I warned her about were things that she once voiced strong convictions about. When a person is under a spirit of deception, they begin to change right before your eyes, and it's as if you don't know them anymore. They say things they would have never said before. This is why I want to voice my concerns for Daystar. This is an attack against Daystar. Marcus and Joni set such a high standard for Daystar over the years that the viewers will not be fooled. They will be able to see the deception. As the viewers begin to see the change in Joni, they will know there is something off and viewing will drop drastically. They have been under the anointing of Marcus Lamb for many years, so they won't be deceived. They will know something is wrong. They will, they will discern the difference in the new leadership. The Daystar family has been under the leadership of Marcus Lamb, who stood for truth and righteousness. The Lord has shown me what the enemy is using Doug to do. If Joni falls for it and hands over leadership to Doug, the Daystar viewing audience will see clear through his deception. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He is of no caliber for such a high platform. He is being used by the enemy to take Daystar down.
I wonder if Marcus Rogers read this before he interviewed Joni. Probably not.
Oh my gosh.
It was available though.
Yeah. Joni didn't endorse divorce until she came under his deception. Using the Daystar platform, the enemy has successfully mocked the marriage covenant using one of the strongest Christian TV networks in the nation. My perspective of Doug came after spending several days with him. I voiced to her that the issues in the first marriage needed to be confronted before going into this marriage.
She was counseling Doug and Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
She was counseling Doug and Lisa. And she was friends with Marcus and Joni for years and their whole family. This is the woman that Pete was begging for a clearance from. Mm-hmm. This woman is no just random lady writing a comment on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, this is a serious word in the moment for Joni to pay attention to. And she didn't.
Your mom agreed that they would hear me out first. But once Jimmy Evans fully approved of Doug, she told me that they would not be interested in talking with me.
Makes sense.
After spending 3 days with Doug, I am fully aware of the deep-rooted issues that caused Doug's first marriage to fail. The alarming thing is, what took the first marriage down is casually being embraced. When I met with your mom on Friday before the shower, she rehearsed all the people's names again that were endorsing the marriage to Doug. Since I know the root issues, I see warning signs that others don't see. Jimmy Evans knows Doug according to what Doug wants him to know. So therefore, Jimmy Evans is endorsing the marriage without having full knowledge of what really happened to the first marriage.
And Jimmy Evans admitted that he did not talk to Lisa.
Yeah.
He admitted it, and he said, I don't have to. I've talked to Doug, and I heard what I need to hear. I've been in this for 40 years. I know what I'm doing. I have discernment, and I discern that Doug's being truthful. Mm-hmm. Wild.
How can you know he is safe for Joni if you don't know the root issues behind what really happened? Joni's well-being, her health, her integrity, the family legacy, and millions of people who trust Daystar are all at risk. We need to pray for Jimmy Evans that he will realize that the stakes are so high for the kingdom of God. I'll be praying for each of you to have discernment and not push the minimize button when you get a check. You have been disciplined for years by Marcus. I'm praying for the sake of Daystar, you will put all past hurts aside and come together as one. That's the only way you'll be able to get your mom to see the truth. I'm willing to meet with all of you and speak on your behalf with your mom. I love you all, Denise.
That's
a powerful letter.
Wow.
I mean, imagine getting that as a child.
Yeah.
Not a child,
as
like
a 35-year-old.
But as someone's child.
Let's just put yourself, I just put myself in Jonathan Lamb's shoes. Okay. I'm 42 years old right now. I imagine at 35 getting a letter like that from someone to my parents saying, you need to confront your mother about this. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, the stakes are really, really high. And I don't care if Jimmy Evans, 45 years of ministry to marriages and all this stuff and all these people are saying it's right. You know that it's wrong. And by the way, I'm not just a random person. I'm your family friend. I'm a family counselor. And I've counseled the person in their former marriage that's trying to marry your mom. Mm-hmm. You need to confront this. I'm seeing your mom change in front of my face. Guys, if that doesn't tell you, maybe Marcus Rogers, what you felt at that meeting that first time, like about a month ago or 2 months ago about the Daystar situation, maybe that's what you felt was off. Maybe you were discerning initially. But this letter is telling. Mm-hmm. And so you want to know why? Just to put it 2 and 2 together, to go back to what your initial statement was, was there a turning in April, May-ish of 2022 or March, April of 2022? It wasn't because Joni was making Doug a co-host. It was because they got a letter from Denise Bogs saying this.
And up until that point, they didn't know enough about Doug's divorce. Mm-hmm. And the more they learned, the more they were uneasy about it. And from my understanding, the other siblings already were, not interested. Susie and Jonathan were actually the only ones that were supportive at first.
They were.
Which is why they have screenshots of Susie being excited for Joni and sending her messages about loving the pictures of her and Doug together and things like that now they're using against her, being oh, you loved Doug,
talk about that for a second. You can change your mind on things.
Yeah, of
when
course.
You get new information.
Of course, she was excited for her. She didn't want her to be lonely. She wanted her to find love again. So whenever she met somebody, she was excited for her. She was, encouraging her. She was being there for her. Mm-hmm. But then once she realized what was going on and what happened in his previous marriage, and realizing, getting this letter, kind of confirming some things that the other siblings already thought and felt, it was okay, maybe we need to pump the brakes here and not let this happen.
Exactly. When you find out there's more information, you realize that the picture that it seems that Joni's trying to paint here is all just surface level. Well, we saw some counseling after that beach trip and everything was good. No, you said that Pete was cleared by a forensic investigator, and that's why everything turned out good and it was swept under the rug. Or at least it was forced to be, because they believed that statement that wasn't actually true. Oh, well, they just decided that they were mad about the marriage once I put Doug on TV. No, the same time that they decided they were mad about it was because they got a letter that drilled into them, do not minimize this and listen to the check in your heart about this. So, of course, Jonathan's sitting there being railed by Jimmy Evans to submit. Susie's being railed to read this thing of praising the marriage. And they're wait, do we stand up for what we feel is right, or do we just submit to Jimmy Evans and Mom? Mm-hmm. What a mess. What a mess. Okay, listen to this about the Daystar Mafia.
I want you to just address that before we go to the last thing.
Well, I'm sure they were completely safe, because no Daystar employee was following them. There was nobody with a gun coming to their door that I know of.
No, they have video
listen
of it.
To this. No Daystar employee was following them. Okay, I'm just going to point out things that you can say in a political way without lying. Mm-hmm. No Daystar employee was following them. Well, they said there was people following them. Were the people hired to follow them? Were the people sent to follow them that are not Daystar employees? And
right. It was an investigator that followed them, because Jonathan has video of stopping the guy and being who are you? And he's I'm an investigator. And he couldn't tell them who hired him. But yeah, we know it wasn't a Daystar employee that was following them around. We know it was an investigator.
And of course, maybe Joni didn't do it. Maybe Doug did it. Or maybe they. So listen to how she answers the rest of it.
That I put up to doing it.
Nobody that I put up to doing it is what she says. She says this. Nobody that I know of, or that I put up to doing it. Because I think she might have caught herself possibly, maybe saying a lie. And she said, well, nobody that I put up to it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
There was a tracker on the car, because it was a Daystar car that he was driving. And I have a tracker on my car. And we do that on all the Daystar vehicles. And how that happened is my dad was visiting, and
she goes into this long story about her dad had dementia, was visiting, using a Daystar car, got lost. And so they said, let's put trackers on the car. Well, here's the fact. The expense report that Jonathan pulls, Jonathan was really good with the money at Daystar. He knew all the expense reports. He knew when $4 was spent. That's just the way this guy is. He said that those trackers weren't purchased yet.
The expense reports didn't show them purchased yet. Then he catches a guy on camera putting something in his trunk. Where's that video, babe? Did you send me that video, or where's that video?
It's on that Julie Royce article.
Okay.
The other one.
This one. Okay, cool. Let's go to that real quick. Does it?
No. So for people who are listening, not watching,
he knows. Okay, yeah.
A security camera that he's watching, a security person at Daystar
Open the trunk.
his trunk, which I think would be so weird anyways. Like,
sketch.
Yeah, it's like, I would be like, what in the world is that person doing in my car?
Yeah, and he actually confronts this guy because he says, now the way he says it, he says, I felt prompted to look at the security camera one day, and I looked down, and this is what was happening in that moment. So then this guy apparently reports to Jonathan. He's a direct report. So he goes to him and says, hey, did you put this in, what were you doing in my car? And he says, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And he is caught, and he's like, no, you were in my trunk. And he's like, oh, I was checking for something that I had seen in the back of your window or something. He goes, no, the back of my window has like a cover thing. You can't see back there. So this guy basically lied to him.
Didn't tell him, oh, I was putting a tracker on your car. So,
and that was on November 7th, 2023 is when this happened. The board meeting to make him sign an NDA was on November 16th, 2023, 8 days later or 9 days later. So you're telling me, because this is what she says. She just says, everybody's got a tracker on their car.
Which they do now.
Now they
do now, after y'all got caught putting one on Jonathan's, and then they have to cover themselves and put them on everybody's, and then say, yeah, everybody has them.
But they didn't have them then.
Yeah, they didn't have them then.
The shop who recognized that he was lost, and he remembered his number. He had left his phone at home, and this lady called his number. And so it wasn't his. And so I allowed him to drive the car.
Oh, yeah. Listen. So she says, listen to this. Listen to the way she demeans him with this.
He had left his phone at home, and this lady called his number and said, hey, I think your dad's here. And that's how we found him. So then we
and
just
Marcus
put a
kind of plays into this right here. Watch.
So okay, wow. So the way they gave me the interview was,
he's like, oh, wow.
Tracker was only on his car, and it was after all this stuff happened. But you're saying every car has a tracker.
Well, actually, this was Marcus's.
This was his question. So the way they did, this is what he said. So the way they did the interview, which I have this written, the way they gave me the interview, meaning Susie and Jonathan, is that the tracker was only on his car and that it was after all this stuff. But you're saying every car has a tracker. So listen to her answer to his question, how she beats around the bush on the timing of the tracker.
And so I allowed him to drive the car. And so
she says this was Marcus Lamb's car. Marcus Lamb has been passed away for 4 years. She said, but I allowed him to drive it. So it's a demeaning and diminishing of him as a vice president. And like, well, he's actually driving Marcus Lamb's car, and I allowed him to drive it.
They put a tracker on the car just because all of the vehicles had trackers. And for whatever reason, we wanted to make sure that every vehicle had one on it.
She did not answer his question about the timing.
Yeah.
And then watch Marcus Rogers. Why did you not catch that? You just let it slide.
Okay, so I want to ask you one more thing before we go into the last thing.
So it wasn't his personal car.
Got you.
Yeah.
So he sends an email to you pretty much saying, like, I want it in writing that I'm going to be the president of Daystar. Do you think that was because of the allegations and the mess that came up, or had you in writing told him why he wasn't ready to be the president of Daystar, which would make him be like, okay, I need to get something saying.
Yeah, so what happened was after the whole comment thing, things just began to deteriorate. But we went through, if you will, a meeting with every employee in every department at Daystar. And it wasn't really to find anything wrong. It was just...
Okay, this is very long, but what she basically says is that they went through a meeting to introduce Doug to everybody. And Doug was like, I'm not your boss now. I'm just here. I'm just, I'm just here to support Joni. But as they were going through all the departments, they found department heads that had complaints about Jonathan and things like that, and complaints about how he's doing things. So then they start taking note. So then they take that and they take that back. Oh, they also found complaints about Susie's dad. Susie's dad ran the prayer department, and who was under Jonathan. And so all the complaints are about Jonathan's area now. And they put him on a PIP, a performance improvement plan.
Okay, offer him management stuff, and meaning like management classes. Okay, cool. Like that's fine. You can do all that. That doesn't actually. I get that. A 35-year-old dude, a 37-year-old dude, like get more and more training as you go. But they say that they found all these problems. They put him on a 15-month or 13-month performance plan, which started back then, and then of course led to right when he was fired in November recently. And so that's what she kind of gets into here. And then let's see. So basically, she said that he was taking 3-hour lunches. She was finding out that he was taking 3-hour lunches, that he was golfing every Friday, that he wasn't communicating well, this, that, and the other. So they have all these problems. Now, I don't know. That could be all true.
Yeah.
You know,
who knows?
I don't know. But then the next thing that they say is that he started creating a narrative to hurt Daystar. And this is what I want everybody to hear, because in my mind, this is the lead up to back to the point of the child, which that's the point of all this stuff, is protecting this child. Let's see, 42, 44. Let's see if we can get to that real quick. 42, 44. Oh, they fire Susie's dad as well, and they put Jonathan on a performance plan or whatever.
He was not managing properly, so we put him what they call on a performance improvement plan, a PIP. And we put him under one of the main managers here at Daystar and just gave him an opportunity to improve. And we even said we would be open to him taking some managerial classes. And when we put him on this program, he continued to not do what the program had hoped he would do, which was improve. And he would take 3-hour lunches. He would tell his manager he's going to go play golf. You know, almost every Friday. Wasn't meeting with the few departments that he had. And I think even then, they were meeting and trying to create a narrative to try to hurt me or hurt Daystar. And I mean, it started with the divorce, I think, trying to use that. No, it started with we were keeping them from having the religious freedom, that we were impeding their religious freedom by making them read the comments. So we did away with that.
Okay, so the comments are believing that divorce was okay and remarriage, and they're like, well, that's, if you're forcing us to do that, that's against our conscience. So they said you need to put a clause in that says we don't have to impede our religious freedom. So they like changed that for them, I guess.
It was about the divorce. And then it turned into the whole extortion, the tape, I'm going to leak it. I mean, it was just plan after plan after plan. And the last plan of all, which was the craziest, was, oh, well, let's resurrect what happened at the beach in 2021 and say that a family member has been abusing the granddaughter. Oh, and that mom covered it up.
Why do you think they went to this one blogger lady? I forgot what her name is. Like,
all right, let's pause it real quick.
I bet you did forget what her name is. That is just so messed up.
I just have to say, before we get into that, all those points, this is what a lot of people are a little bit frustrated, that we have to talk about all the marriage and divorce stuff and all these different issues, but it leads to, because she just went point by point. She said because of the performance plan, because he wasn't doing a good job, because he's going to get fired, they started creating a narrative. First was about the religious freedom. Well, first they got the thing from Denise Bogs. Of course they're going to feel that way. Number 2, the divorce. They're going to press that divorce issue, and Doug being on the TV with them. Then number 3 was extortion. They called it extortion. We're going to leak the tape if you guys don't give us a contract. And he's like, well, if you listen to the board meeting that was leaked, Tom Callender said, well, you haven't been affected financially at all by anything. And he said, actually, yes, we have. And he's like, what, in what way? He's like, well, we're not allowed to be on TV anymore. And you get $100 every time you are on TV. You get $100. And he said, well, that was it. That was the only thing. And he kept going. And he said, oh, and my mom threatened to kick us off Daystar if we didn't read the card. So it's like he was going, no one's ever had to have a contract before, but we're asking for one because you guys are about to kick us out.
Yeah.
And then finally he goes, the last plan was to resurrect these allegations against Pete so that could ruin Daystar. It's like the narrative they're painting is that these parents are crazy.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that, or you just want to hit the low-level blogger comment here and end it with that?
No, I mean, it's just all so
messy,
annoying and like aggravating, and just can't believe what I'm watching. I can't believe this is a mom talking about her son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter. And just the way she's painting him. I mean, Marcus Rogers keeps saying they're trying to paint this narrative of you, but really she's trying to paint this narrative of them. And it's just so dishonest, and I just can't handle it.
Yeah.
And the way he's just eating it up. And like he says he made the mistake of listening to them and believing everything they said and like didn't do his due diligence. But then he flips around and does the exact same thing to Joni. It's like, okay, so you're just going to believe every single word she says. And his whole demeanor changed for this interview. For him to look at her and be like, yeah, why do you think why do you think they would go to this low level blogger, like using her language or whatever he said. He may not have said low level, but anyways, using the language that they have been using at Daystar, that they're trying to, it's like, what did they do to you? What happened to you while you were there? Because I know you're like saying that you saw these amazing things and you got to see everything they do. Nobody's doubting that Daystar does good things, that they have done good works, that they have impacted a lot of people. Nobody is arguing that. But like, that doesn't mean that they can't be wrong on this. That doesn't mean that like they're not trying to protect all of that good that they've done by doing something really, really bad. And just the way he shifted and changed as soon as he went in there is like freaky. It's like creepy to me. So, I mean, he like took on all of their like language and vibe and attitude.
Snake.
I don't know what to call it.
I know you don't, Christina doesn't really like throw out the overly spiritualized language on this stuff, but I think what you're saying is he came under the principality that they're under. He literally started acting under the same type of thing that they're under. To the point where he eventually bows and apologizes by the end of it.
All of his questions are he's asking leading questions to her. Like, if they really believed this, why do you think they did that? You know, stuff like that. And then here, why do you think they would hire some blogger? I don't even know her name.
Listen
it's
to
like,
this.
What are you?
Listen to this.
And that mom covered it up.
Why do you think they went to this one blogger lady? I forgot what her name is. Like, why not go to...
Bro, you're going to forget what her name is. You got like one of the biggest interviews on the Christian planet right now, and you don't know the original person that broke the story?
See, or, you know, if you really believe this is happening, I'm going to tell the whole world, you know, I'm probably going to go to the biggest platform possible. Why did they go to that individual?
Well, because that's the only bottom feeder they could get to carry the story, because that's what she does. And there's...
Oh, you know, Joni, you wouldn't out Robert Morris for using a child. You didn't do it. Julie Royce did, the low-level blogger. She did it, but you wouldn't do it. She's a bottom feeder. I can't even. It's just, yeah.
Absolutely no evidence of anything. There was nothing that was done wrong. And like I told you, the whole thing to try to
There was nothing that was done wrong.
tarnish not only me, because I know God will protect me, but to tarnish Marcus Lamb is...
This is a move right here. This is a chess move in front of everybody. Not only did they want to tarnish me, and I'm just his mom, you know, but his amazing father, Marcus Lamb. Now you're pointing the finger at Jonathan and Susie, and especially Jonathan, saying he's tarnishing the name of his father by doing this. You do realize that his daughter has testified of abuse, and there are things pointing that it could be possible, just possible, allegedly, that it's within the Daystar community. And you're going to say that all of this is tarnishing Marcus Lamb's name.
The most difficult part of all this, because he was such a great man, such a great father.
Now she's the
victim. And God had
victim.
used him in such a tremendous way.
She's the victim.
He and I together to build Daystar. And to somehow say that he was covering up something or that I was covering up something, I couldn't believe it. And anybody who knows Marcus Lamb and knows me knows that we would never cover up anything with our granddaughter, and that it wasn't true.
Well, I have to say this to you, you know, and I want to say it now.
Here we go.
I want to apologize to you, right, for a couple of reasons. After, I have no issue saying like, hey, I made a mistake or, you know, jumped the gun on some things. First of all, I don't know if I would have got the interview if I'd reached out. You know, I'm just a YouTuber guy. I'm not operating on the level you guys are operating.
I'm not as awesome as you guys are.
I had a mutual friend who told me that I could trust you, because it's not like I want to keep talking about this, but that YouTube world is your world. It's not my world. I mean, Daystar is my world. So I just appreciate you being willing to talk to me and hear the other side of the story, because I don't have anything to hide.
And that is one thing that I respect about you. And you know, people get real shifty, can't look in the eyes. Since I've been talking to you, you know, saw you guys working here, I got to be honest, guys. I felt the Spirit of God when you were worshiping. So that was the first sign I was like, okay, you know, there might be some things that maybe I missed and I might have jumped the gun. You know, I told you, very serious to me because of what I've been through.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop there because so he basically apologizes, and then he says, you weren't shifty eye when I was talking to you, so I trust you. And then he says, when y'all were worshiping, I felt the Spirit of God. First of all, Marcus, God does not dwell in buildings made by human hands. He dwells in the people of God. So you're going to tell me because a group of people are worshiping God and you feel the presence of God, the Spirit of God, because he dwells in the midst of his people, that suddenly, oh, we got to listen to what these people are saying. This woman is saying, because it's all going to be right. She's not missing anything. Okay. Let's just say best case scenario. She just really doesn't believe that Pete did this. She really believes she heard from God. Like best case scenario. Worst case scenario, she's like, I mean, I guess best case scenario, she just believes that he's innocent, but she's pushing back so hard and defending Pete instead of going after the truth of whatever the allegations are. Like, well, okay, who did it then? On top of all the divorce and remarriage stuff, but like this whole thing at the end, I'm sorry, I apologize, and basically like, I don't know, it just
it's kind of gross. It's all very icky, but I also still believe that he means it.
He means it, yeah.
I don't think he's being like, I think he thinks in his head right now, oh, she's telling me the truth.
Yeah.
Susie and Jonathan lied to me. I gave them my platform to lie about her. I owe her an apology.
Yep.
This is the right thing to do.
Yep.
I think that's what's going through his head. So, like, it's hard to be mad at him because you're like, I see what you are saying and think you're doing, but
I agree with that.
If you still research everything, which it's still possible for you to look up everything and read it, I think you'll change your mind again. I think he would change his mind again.
Yeah. I think so too. I think that he has been researching since he's gotten back. And that's why he's acting the way he's acting. And I don't think he's changed his mind completely, but I think that he's having an interesting time as he's listen to this. This will be interesting. The whole thing about Jonathan taking his parents, you know, becoming the president of Daystar eventually. Let's listen to this right here. There was a succession plan in place, or there was a desire from Marcus Lamb to have a succession plan with Jonathan involved. So listen to this real quick. Let's see.
We had a succession article sent out.
Right.
Okay? And you and your mother signed it. I did not. Okay? It's never been signed, so it's not in effect.
So Tom Callender is one of the board members. He didn't sign it. Marcus sent it to the board. Joni signed it, and Jonathan signed it. Tom never signed it.
At all. In fact, Joni, if because of the circumstances you have, if you've changed your mind, you can withdraw your signature if you want to. Okay? But that is not in effect.
This is on November 16th, 2023.
By any stretch of the imagination. And my recommendation would be that we postpone that whole thing until a later date. But I want you to understand there is no resolution that spells out succession.
I remember my father specifically asked for everyone to reply in the affirmative, the board members. So
But that was his will, but
there would
it's
be
never been
there would
passed.
be an email from you replying in the affirmative.
But we did not
Which you
pass
confirmed
it.
to me whenever we met in Montgomery, Alabama. You actually showed me.
Let me just be honest
You showed me
with
your
you.
phone and you said,
Okay.
Jonathan,
Yep.
this is the last email I got
And
from
I still
Marcus,
have it.
and I'm going to do my best to make sure.
I am.
You imagine that? Tom Callender, who's known Joni and Marcus for years, and Marcus says, this is what I want to happen. And he says to Jonathan, I see this desire from your father, and I'm going to do my best to make it happen. And he doesn't.
I'll agree
And
with that,
let me
too.
tell you where I was, okay? And I'm just going to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I hope y'all will just grant me this leeway for a minute. My heart, when you came to Montgomery, was totally to believe everything you said.
He goes into saying that he no longer trusts Jonathan. Let's see.
Lots happened.
He's got a lot going on.
Lots
John,
happening.
y'all go follow Brother John. He does a good job.
Let's see.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, this
this is different, though.
This is Doug.
Jonathan, I think your view is different. No. It's not going to change the Bible verses you quote.
No.
It's not going to change anything
No, but
presented today.
That's
again,
Doug
what
Weiss.
if there is a spark of hope that Lisa could get back with you? Wouldn't that be the best solution in the end?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
No, I'm serious. Wouldn't that be the best solution before God if you guys could get back?
But what you didn't trust is I gave 1,000% to make that possible. 1,000%. My heart cried out for her to do that.
Now, Denise Bogs says she counseled with him and Lisa, and and she said there's issues, not just from Lisa, but Jimmy Evans says, oh yeah, Lisa's abusive to him. And listen to him just pop off. If he's acting like that around these people, what's he doing?
Around your future son-in-law.
Yeah.
Also, play it for me.
Hey, I gave it 1,000%, and you're saying, oh, well, just keep doing it. Okay, I gave it that. Okay, I gave it 1,000%. And yes, that's intensity because I've been through 30 years of being neglected, and I tried and tried and cried and prayed. Okay, this is.
I'm sorry, but if you've been neglected for 30 years, crying about your marriage for 30 years,
how are you a marriage
maybe
therapist?
You shouldn't be in the marriage counseling business. Like literally, you're going to be on stage, on TV at Daystar, telling people how to like have a better marriage. Like, what a fraud.
You can act scared. You're not scared of me.
I'm a little.
He says, "Don't be scared of me," and he says, "I'm a little put off."
Off put by your reaction.
He acts like that when I yell. It's not acting.
You're saying something again.
It's his personality.
Okay, that I have been through an incredible amount of pain, and you're saying, "Doug, damn it, just suck it up and try it."
He's like, "I'm not saying that." These people all like to cuss behind closed doors.
I'm not saying that.
I'm just trying to understand.
Why didn't you go to Lisa and give another?
No, I'm just saying, wouldn't that be the most honoring thing before the Lord?
It's not honoring to be abused. It's not honoring to be abused. It's not honoring to be neglected. It's not honoring to be untouched and unloved. It's not honoring to do that. Okay? I have a clear conscience before my God who has never left me 1 second in this process and provides miracles for me to get out of that. Okay? It's not honorable to do that. You're saying just get beat up at home and suck it up because you wear the name Christian.
No, but
do it in the name of Jesus.
But can God change her heart? Can she change?
Jonathan, I pray to God you never go through the kind of pain he's been through.
I understand, but
you don't
can people change?
You don't understand. You don't understand.
But can people?
You don't have the life experience to understand.
I understand, but I'm saying we serve a big God.
They're so condescending.
Jonathan, you're 38. You don't have the life experience. We know more. Sorry, keep going.
Which reminds me, in the Marcus Rogers interview too. Was it in that she said something like, he doesn't have a Bible degree. They don't have a Bible degree. Like, so condescending, like you need to have a Bible degree to know right from wrong.
Literally about the divorce and remarriage topic. They're like, he doesn't have a Bible degree. It's like, are you kidding me? That's what you're going to say? You got to have a Bible degree? Okay, there was one more clip that I thought was really good.
There were things that she did and said that she shouldn't have done against me. See, it works both ways. It's not just me.
But she hasn't done anything except...
Yes, she has, Jonathan. She sat there and talked to the family and Jimmy Evans, and they all told me things private conversations that she embellished, and she said things that I didn't say. Like, for instance, in your email where you said Mom said her and Doug could run. I've never said me and Doug could run Daystar. Never in a million years on your dad.
No, you said you would kick us all out and you run Daystar Doug until Jesus comes.
You said you would kick us all out and you would run Daystar with Doug until Jesus comes. And then she says, on the Holy Spirit, I'm actually going to slow it down real slow just to catch everything.
When Jesus comes.
The Holy Spirit, I never said that.
She says, on the Holy Spirit? Is that what she said? Before the Holy Spirit.
Before the Holy Spirit, I never said that. So there are things.
But you said that, no, in the meeting with Jimmy, which again, I have recording of it.
I never
so
said.
if you want to deny that,
I never said.
You can lie. That's fine.
I never said me and Doug would run Daystar without the kids.
You confirmed it in this meeting with Jimmy Evans.
I did confirm it.
You did.
No, I didn't. It was never said just like that.
It's an audio recording, so I mean, you can lie.
You guys might think that he's being rude. He's not. Or dishonoring. He's not. He's just being matter of fact. He's saying, no, I have a recording of it. Mom, stop lying. I have a recording. Now, the problem is if you are used to telling half-truths, then you don't remember your lies. You don't remember what you say when you're used to saying things in a half-truth type of way.
Now I want you to listen to Joni, who just swore on the Holy Spirit that she wouldn't say something. She's given what she said. Take a listen.
Doug, can I tell you one thing? You know where this all began? I have no idea. I'll tell you where this began. And I'll tell you the truth so you may understand the truth. And Joni, this is going to sound so weird, but this is the truth because no one has been more protective of you than me. Like, aggressively so. So, in the beginning, that first time when Jonathan, Rachel, and Becca had that meeting with you, I wasn't part of it because I was 1,000,000% for her. I prayed more, I think more than anyone for her. I was desperate for her to meet somebody. So I thought they looked really good together. Everything was good. I was trying to
See, she's honest about those text messages. Yeah.
get just certain doubts about, process with me when it comes to my faith. So I come over that night to comfort you. And I mean, you said a lot. And you did say, and I let it go thinking, okay, she's hurt. You said, I don't need any of you. All of you can get out of Daystar. I only need Doug and I will run it till Jesus comes. And I knew that you were just saying these things. Obviously, you love your kids.
Do you remember saying that?
I never heard that statement.
You were not there.
That's her.
You did. She did tell you that. She told me that she told you all this and you calmed her down and said, don't say that. So I for over a year, I mean, I don't know how long it's been. Feels like 9 months. I didn't say one word. I shut it down and I was like, that's just her being hurt.
Hold on. Do you remember saying that, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I would say it again today.
She said, I never said that. I would never say such a thing. Before the Holy Spirit, I never said that. Then she's like, this is what you said. And she's like, do you remember saying that, Mom? Yeah, I said that.
I'd say it again.
I'd say it again. And that's exactly what she said in her statement when she was interviewed by her own Table Talk. She said, all the things you heard in those private meetings, there's nothing
Right,
I
all
would
the
not
audio
change.
of Joni as the voice of God. You don't get to have your own convictions in this building. Like, I thought there would be some sort of explanation for that, but she's just doubled down.
She doubled down.
And she was like, yeah, I stand by everything that I said.
Even in the thing with Marcus Rogers, she doubles down. She says, "Oh yeah, that was just an analogy. I'm not the voice of God." Of course, you're being recorded right now, so of course you're gonna say, like, "Well, we didn't really mean that." But yeah.
But the thing is, I think if you press the like hard thing is, I think if you press Jimmy Evans about it, and I think if you obviously Joni, like, I don't think that.
They believe that stuff.
Yeah, they believe that.
It's their doctrine.
That. So they don't feel bad about it. They don't feel like it was wrong. They don't feel like it's like spiritually abusive. They don't feel like it's manipulative. They don't feel those things because they literally believe that they are here and we're all here.
And listen, what they do, and a lot of these guys, some of them have worked in secular arena and business world, but what a lot of these guys do is they go, no, if you ever had a secular job, you would have to do the same thing. You have to submit. Look, like we ran a business. We had a lot of people working with us, and a lot of people that worked for us in a sense. Like if we had anybody that was ever insubordinate or hard time to work with, I never dealt with it by being like submit, like over spiritualize it. And we had a lot of Christians that worked with us, but we never over spiritualized it. Like I'm the voice of God. Submit now. It's like you find out what's going on. Especially if they have a contention. I'm going to listen. I'm going to hear it out. And if it's not a good fit, I'm just going to tell them that. Now, the problem here is it's a son and a mom and a legacy dynasty ministry.
So there's lots of different dynamics at work.
Lots of dynamics at work. But the theology is, and the way it's pressed is really strange. And if you're doing that to your people, it's like they should leave because that's weird.
Yeah.
Y'all being weird.
One last one. Talking about that, pull up Julie Royce's X account. And today she posted just a little...
Well, God wouldn't be pleased with this.
No,
God's not pleased. And you've opened up yourself, both of you, to demonic activity in your family and with your kids by your rebellion against me.
The arrogance. This is classic spiritual abuse. You can find anywhere in the New Testament where Jesus or the epistle writers told us we could warn somebody of a curse for this type of thing.
She's the voice of God in Daystar.
No, there's no other accountability at
Romans
Daystar.
13 tells us to submit to authority, all authority, because it's established by God.
Okay, can I just say, please say, Jimmy Evans needs to be disqualified from ministry for what he said in this meeting.
Okay, well, the job I submitted to here at Daystar is ministry to serve God, not about Doug. So in that case, I will stand my convictions to be here for God, not about Doug.
Okay, well, you're not called to be here for God. You're called here to serve.
Now, look, people say, well, they didn't know they were being recorded. When you're being recorded and you don't know it, that's when you talk the way you really talk. That's when you say what you really believe.
Right.
I'm glad she was secretly being recorded. She literally said, you're not here to serve God. You're here to serve.
You're not here for God. You're here to serve. What's she trying to say? Serve us.
Someone else who's disqualified? Joni Lamb. Resign now. Resign now. You just told somebody who said, I'm here for God, and you said, you're not here for God. Basically, you're here for me.
Joni's not going to resign because Joni thinks higher of herself than she thinks that you are. She thinks that you're a bottom feeder for calling out Robert Morris, for calling out Mike Bickle, for calling out these youth pastors that do crazy things that Pete is being accused of right now.
Yeah.
But you know what? Anyway, it's wild. Yeah, that theology is so dangerous, and the whole it's like talking about cursing, and your children are going to be cursed, and you're going to be cursed. And I'm like, geez, you guys are the ones that, like, for her, she's literally the mom of the son.
I know.
So wait, is he being cursed? Is that because of you, or is that because Marcus's infidelity for 7 years? What's it because of? Where's the curse coming from? I think he's literally just trying to hold you guys accountable.
Yeah.
Like, and when guys that are in their 60s and 70s won't do it, sometimes the kids that are in their 30s and 40s have to do it. And that's called the changing of the guard. It's not dishonor. It's not mean. It's not rude. It's like somebody's got to come in with some kind of conviction to the very biblical principles that their parents taught them. And she keeps saying Marcus wouldn't stand for this. Marcus Lamb wouldn't stand. Marcus would be proud. I think Marcus Lamb would be proud as heck of Jonathan and Susie and what they're doing right now. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'd be like, just, speaking from heaven to Joni, yep, you and Doug, just run this thing.
Yeah, speaking of, people saying, Marcus Rogers saying this is all about money and not making it about their daughter. They literally gave up everything. If all they wanted was money and all they wanted was to be the president, they would have just read the card and gone on with their life. But they gave up everything. They don't have jobs anymore. They don't have a family anymore. They don't have anything. They gave up everything. So to sit there and act like that they aren't doing right by their daughter and this is all about money, are you kidding me? Like, I just couldn't believe he would say that whenever it's like, you think they're going to get money after this? You think they're going to get, like, you think this is how you fight for the... No, it would have been handed to them. They were next in line. All they had to do was submit. So,
and praise that marriage. Praise that marriage, that new marriage. Act like everything's fine. Like, not speak up about
if they didn't have a conscience, if they didn't have convictions, and if this was all about money for them and platform, they could have had it. So that you're clearly wrong about that one.
And I don't mean this wrong, but like, you've been very, like, Marcus Rogers has been very open about his history. He's had he's on his fourth marriage, third wife. So like, he's very open about his history. And he comes up with his biblical teachings of why it's all okay. But I'll just say that you got to respect people that feel a conviction otherwise within that ministry to speak up about it. You got to respect that. And plus, when you got the closest people in their life, like Denise Bogs, coming in and saying, "Hey, here's the thing, y'all stand up to this." Like, that's called conviction. That's not something that just needs to be like, well, everything's okay. It's like, okay, cool. They stood up, and they didn't do it for money. They didn't do it for power. And then when they came in with the contract at the end, it wasn't for more control, or releasing the audios wasn't for control. It's frankly uncovering a spiritually abusive environment, which some people have said is like cultish, which is a lot of these big ministries. A lot of them are. Not all of them, but a lot of them tend to be that. Hey, even small ministries can be like that. Even little 10-person ministries can be like that. I heard an allegation just the other day of a guy that runs a 10-person little group that travels all over the place. He's connected to a really big ministry, but he runs all over the place with a little crew, and it rotates in the 10 people, and there's all kinds of spiritual abuse. And one thing that these people do is try to hold spiritually abusive people accountable. And I'm like, dude, you really like just doing it in your own world. But anyway, so it's not the size of the ministry that tells you if it's the Christian Illuminati or the evil, Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. It's not that. It's the fruit. It's the fruit. It's what you actually see going on. So anyway, this one was a long one, but I think this will be helpful. Hopefully this is helpful, breaking down this whole thing. So any final words?
Just for Joni, I feel like you should get a new crisis management person, because I feel like I have a hunch what's going on here. Seen this movie before. It does not end well. So
Oh, you mean like the guy who showed up like 3 days after the allegations broke and went public? The guy who was on their show? Possibly? Or just the style?
I'm just saying.
I got you.
The style does not work.
Yeah.
I know that you think it's working, but also it has been, I don't want to say encouraging because it's like terrible, but people are waking up to this. People recognize this. Like if you look at I don't even want to say her name because I don't want to draw attention to it, but Jonathan's sister who's posting like really just ridiculous stuff on her ex account, like stuff she's going to be embarrassed about later. If you look at, she is literally getting drug on there. And like the entire comment section, like everybody sees right through all of this.
Yeah. Because the component that's missing in most people's understanding is spiritual abuse. Mm-hmm. And I know that's a hard thing to accept, that your ministry could be involved in spiritually abusing people under your care. And I know also that that's something that that the old guard, when I say old, I'm not talking about old in age, I'm just talking about people that have been in leadership for a long time in the body of Christ. They think that's just another way to say church hurt. But no, it's actually affecting people's lives, incomes, marriages, families, based on spiritual interpretations of the Bible that bring spiritual control and manipulation to people's lives. And it brings psychological damage, long-term effects. It's bad. It's very, very bad. And we're watching some of that play out. And I know you guys would say, well, Jonathan's doing this. He's recording me. It's because of what he started to expose and push against. And you guys weren't open to that accountability. Now, you can say all day long, he wasn't a good worker. He wasn't a good manager. That's fine. Fire him. You should have fired him. Not done all this stuff, put trackers on his car on November 7th, 2023 and act like they were on everybody's car already. Like, you shouldn't have done these things. And now you're going to be exposed for doing these things, allegedly. I always got to throw that in there. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Should we tell people what time it is here?
No.
It's early.
I don't think we need to do that.
It's early. I like to do it.
They don't need to know our business.
Somebody actually said that they don't believe that we are drinking coffee.
Oh, yeah. We got the wildest comment.
Oh,
it's because we drink all of it, so it's gone.
Yeah,
I still have some, but we had the weirdest
there's
comment.
Coffee in there.
Saying that we have pretend coffee mugs, and there's no coffee in there.
Look, these things are not glued to this table. Now, I have accidentally glued something to this table before and ripped off a piece at the top of the table.
Basically ruined.
But listen, this table is real. This coffee mug's real. Christmas is coming.
Go ahead. Tell them what else she said about your tight jacket.
She said,
she said, you're like a Nazi.
Oh, she practically called us Hitler.
That's what she said, not Nazi. She said
She
Hitler.
tight jacket in your hair.
Tight jacket, fake coffee. You know who else used to do that? Hitler. Literally said that. Like, what are you talking about?
And then she said our nails looked like they're manicured. I'm like, my wife manicures her nails. I do not, okay? I do not. I won't say what I think that is, but I do not do that. All right. Anything else random we want to say?
I think that's all.
Okay, guys. Y'all have a great night, great day whenever you're watching this. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And Feliz Navidad. All right. And Feliz Cumpleaños. And I got to go to the El Baño. God bless. Good night.
No bathroom jokes.
That's it. Those are dirty jokes. Dad jokes.